Hello from nowhere. We're high atop the Mystic Mountain in the fantastical land of nowhere. Now guys, if you watched my earlier video about something that happened at a restaurant in Gadsden, Alabama, it's something that happened out the cookout in Gadsden, Alabama. You know, I was pretty upset when I made that video, but you know, I left it up because I thought there was a lot that someone could learn from it. I said a lot of things that I find have value concerning egoic behavior, identity behavior, and I've calmed down. I was finally able to eat some food. My blood pressure got not blood pressure, but all kinds of things are now balanced, and I wanted to make a video after I had time to recollect and think about what had happened and analyze, and I'm going to talk about it. As I said in the first video, if you haven't seen it, go look it up. I think I labeled it The Takeout in Gadsden, Alabama. I have to move these sticks out of my driveway real quick. Hold on. It's not working. So I may have to just cut these sticks. But if you go look at that other video, it's labeled The Cookout, Gadsden, Alabama. Get this stick out of here so we can quit driving over it. And in that video, I detail an adventure that happened today. And I intervened in a situation. And I usually do things like that, shooting from the hip, or just as we would think of it, as instinctual. Thanks for bearing with me through all that ruffling noise. See a cloud from up here now. And so thinking back on it, there's a lot that you can learn from that situation. And and what did I learn? I learned that if I'm ever in a situation to intervene again, I'm gonna tell you why, because we were there, and since I've thought about it calmly and I could analyze it. Think about this, guys. I'm in a restaurant, and out of nowhere, somebody comes in the restaurant, gets in line, then somebody follows them in that restaurant, and they were intimidating those people. They were aggressive. They were being very aggressive in what they were saying. I can't remember word from word, but I remember it was something like this that person said at them. They said, "Now how you gonna act that we not on the road for you to act like that?" And it was, and the way they said it was just so like it's fighting words when they said it. They wanted to scare the people they were talking to and intimidating. I mean, these people followed these people from the road, from something that happened on the road. This person followed these other people off the road, followed them right into the restaurant, basically had them cornered up against the counter, and I'm hearing this happen, and I'm just like, I don't immediately interject. I listen, and I'm looking over my shoulder, because when you're in a public place, the world is not so innocent. One minute you're ordering food, and the next minute somebody's threatening and cursing and all kinds of things. You got to be ready for whatever happens. And and so when we were there, I watched them. They follow these people in there. They corner them, and they're saying the things like I just said. It was something along those lines. I remember how it was said though, and I remember the body language that woman had. She was just like, she was very intimidating, and she was very aggressive in nature. And you can't act like that in public. You can't do that. And I listened, just me and, I just listened, and I said, well, maybe this woman will say, hey, you cut me off in traffic. Maybe she'll say what's her piece, and then she'll leave. That woman was not leaving after she said that, and I kept glancing, and then I started watching. And I noticed that woman couldn't tell, and I was right next to her just staring at her, watching and listening. And I noticed that the woman, she was hyperly focused on these people. Just an abnormal amount of focus. And I seen the people that were cornered up, they were young, like I said in another video. They were probably early 20s, maybe they were teenagers out on the weekend, go get something to eat. And this woman, I don't know what happened on the road, that's irrelevant. I don't know what happened between these people before they got in the restaurant, but I know nobody was hurt. It wasn't that big of a deal to call the police, apparently, because no one did. But this woman followed these people in this restaurant from the road. So what happened was I when I was watching and I was listening to this, and this is before I intervened, and my wife has let my dog outside and it's barking, so hold on. Hush! Hush! Nobody wants to hear you talk. And so what I'm saying is, at this point was these people were backed up against this counter in this store. And go somewhere else. Don't be breathing in my ear. They were backed up against this corner, and this woman was kind of blocking their way. They couldn't leave if they wanted. They had no way out of the situation. I looked at them, and I remember they were just like, they looked concerned, and they looked a little scared, and they looked a little worried. And I'm watching this woman, and like I said, I can't remember what she said, but I remember how she was saying what she was saying in her body language. And her body language said, I'm about to hurt these people. The tone in her voice was like, I'm about to get satisfaction one way or another out of these people. And that's about the time that I intervened, and I said, excuse me, ma'am, can you please be quiet? That's all I remember really saying. And I was trying to explain to the woman that I have, she was making me anxious. And, it kind of went downhill from there. I tried to turn away from that woman, but she got ramped up. And I remember that when the people at the cookout came out there to actually investigate after this stuff got out of hand, that the woman was lying to the people who worked there. She was doing the thing that people do when they know they're doing something wrong, but they're trying to get everybody on their side. They're not telling the truth. And I remember before they come over there, I asked if that woman, I was curious, because I said, man, are you actually going to did you actually come in here to buy something? Because what she was doing was carrying on with these 3 kids. And she goes, no, I ain't coming here to get nothing. And so by the end of it all, she had just destroyed the peace in the place. There were people with kids coming in and out. Me and my wife had to leave the place because and I remember when that woman got in her car, I didn't leave right away. We didn't leave right away because I was watching, and I was trying to get the corporate number out of the people. So, if something like that's happening at your restaurant, don't you want to know what's happening in your business? Apparently not. But And I noticed when the woman got in the car, she was staring really hard at that building. Like the thought, like, I'm going to crash into this building, was probably going through her mind. The woman was dangerous, in my honest opinion. I know an aggressive person when I see one. I know aggressive behavior. I know intimidation. I know all of those things. And I know when that woman got in the car and nobody else was looking, but I saw her as she turned her car, and her car was parallel with the building. She was hanging out of her window. Her head just fixated on that building, staring at it. I promise you, that woman had to be trying to curse that building. And, you know, I know that Sinners movie came out, and, you know, people like that movie. Guys, that's a movie. You're not about to be a voodoo king or queen just because you watched a movie about black vampires. All right? People who typically do magic and stuff, you know, they practice it for years. They don't just go watch a movie about it, and they don't just go up, turn on Harry Potter and start casting spells and stuff. That's not how people who do magic, who are serious about it, practice it. And not that I'm advocating magic, but I'm also I learn about these things and I read about them. You shouldn't be ignorant in anything. And so, to get back on topic, I mean, at that point, you know, I felt like if I hadn't been hungry and I hadn't been exhausted and I had more patience and willpower, you know, when I knew when I watched and observed, before I even got involved, I was very anxious because that woman was creating a very hostile environment for everybody in that restaurant. And when I saw how scared these kids looked, and this woman, what she was doing, I mean, I think that woman would have honestly tried to beat one of them up in that restaurant. That woman might have picked up anything in that restaurant and thrown it at them. It was just, because this is the simple fact of it. You chase someone off of a public road. You chase them into a public restaurant you have no intention to be at for any reason except to chase and pursue someone or people in this case. And you cornered them against the counter, and you're sitting there you're sitting there being intimidating. I mean, if, you know, I get that we live in 2025 and it's risky to get involved because you might get implicated. Nobody wants to hear your side. But I'll tell you this, I'm not a fan of what I'm seeing in public places where people whip out phone cameras. They won't help anyone. They won't call the police, but they'll video everything there is to see. And when I saw how scared them people were, I had to get involved. Them people were going to get hurt. I felt in my heart that if I didn't get in the middle of it, and I didn't try to. My original goal here was to do the peacemaker thing. So, you know, I was going to try and say, okay, I understand how you feel, and I want to help work this out where everybody can be in peace and go about their day. But I wasn't given the opportunity by the person, because the person was just they were silently worked up and they were waiting to release it. I know, I could tell, because when they finally got them walking out the building, they cussing even more at me. That says everything I need to know. They were hiding it. And the very fact that those people that worked there that got involved didn't get hurt or something is just amazing. It's just amazing. You know, thing that bothered me a lot though is that you see this all too common. I know nobody wants to get involved with everything, but if you think about this, there are people who are now chasing other people into buildings, cornering them, and nobody is so much as calling the 911. They can't even judge that this is a bad situation. They have no clue that they're in danger. No clue whatsoever. Well, it don't involve me. Well, how do you know that woman wasn't going to beat them up and then decide I'm still mad? When people get worked up like that, and everybody becomes a target. There is no, you ain't involved. They will make you involved. And it's a dangerous world we're walking in. It's dangerous. And it's not for the faint of heart. And, you know, I just wanted to give a little bit of calmer take. And I want to also say this, you know, people like that, they weren't born bad. And truth be told, they're not bad. They've been convinced that to be this and to be a member of this group, this is how we act. This is how we behave. And if you ain't like that, you ain't in the club with us. And, you know, that's foolish. That's the identity stuff I keep trying to tell people to take off of themselves. And, you know, I left the other video public. You know, and I'm going to post this one because I think there's a lot to learn. And, you know, I don't know what to tell you. If you're gonna walk through life trying to be the peacemaker, you're gonna get many scars, both physically, emotionally, and everywhere else you can get a scar. And I don't guess it's the cookout's fault that they have people right. I mean, that's what could they have done? What I was upset about is that no one had any control over anything in that building. And when you call corporate to tell them about it, you get met with someone who's uninterested to hear it. And you know, it's just like, it's fake. And, you know, I'm not going anywhere near Gadsden, Alabama again, I'll tell you that. Because like I said, every time I go there, every time, something like this is happening in that city. And it don't have to be that way, but it is. What do you do about it? Well, you're going to have to bring some serious industries back. I know that I believe that they're trying to make it into a retirement community. Well, that's good and great, but it ain't going to work out so well because retirees are old. And old people want nice, pleasant, quiet places. And if you've got a population of people who have played a little bit too much Grand Theft Auto and watched a little bit too much gangster media, and they think they think that's how you behave in public. No, it's not. And that woman, I know what that woman's problem was. She, you know, I know what that was that made that woman chase them people in that building. I know what it was. You know, that woman's got darkness inside of her. And, you know, usually what makes people do that is a combination of things. You have an ego. That's the one that I'm going to defend my honor component of it. I deserve satisfaction at all costs component of it. And then there's the identity. The identity basically composes the ego. The identity is this in that situation. I was it's not said like this, but so you understand, I was raised this way. I was told that's what I am. I was told this is how you be what I am. This is who I am. That's the identity. And the ego is full of it. And so you also, and a combination of probably survival energy, because survival energy fuels that behavior. In that situation that she actually chased someone into a store from a road, 100% survival energy that fuels that. And what that is when you grow up in a certain circumstance where it's very difficult and very draining and you're very exhausted as a result, what happens is your body, your will to live is deeper than what you can think about it. And so it ties up with a very powerful form of energy that comes from, as our Indian friends say, the root chakra, or as I'm calling it, the survival energy. And it's very powerful. It's meant to keep you alive. The problem is people get identified with this, like as if everything is the survival situation. Like, oh, it matters. Everything is out to get me. If I don't defend my honor, then nobody will know how important I am. If they don't know how important I am, I won't be able to live with them. I won't survive. Them are frogs, if you're wondering. When people insult and demean you and you're unable to rub it off, it's an attack against you. Your ego is then using the survival energy to survive. And that's what makes people get into fights with each other. That's what makes people hurt each other. That's what makes people do all kinds of god-awful things. I'm not proud of what happened at the restaurant. It was ugly. I'm not proud of ugly things. It could have been worse. I didn't have no business interfering, but I don't care. The whole world has become the way it is because people would not defend decency. They would not stand up for what was right. They would not say we use manners here. They would not say that we don't do wrong to each other. They would not stand for the good, and so the evil has flourished upon this earth. All it takes for evil to win, to dominate this planet and this world, is for the good to do not a damn thing. That's all it takes. Good people are typically cowardice. Good people are typically cowards. They won't stand up and defend good. They won't stand up and say, that's not right how you're cornering people against a counter. They won't stand up for what's right. So guess what? So evil has a field day. It does whatever it wants. It hijacks the bodies of our brothers and sisters on this earth. And what it does is it gets them doing all kinds of awful things. We wrestle not with the bodies. We wrestle not with the flesh and blood of our brothers and sisters of this world, of this planet, of this dimension in existence. We wrestle not with that flesh and blood. But we are in a drag down, brutal fight to the end against what hijacks them, against the darkness that you find in both the high and the low places and everywhere in between. We must fight, even at the cost of this body's life, even at the end of this container's cost. We must fight the evil. And we have a whole arsenal of spiritual weapons that help us do that. And sometimes it's not enough. Sometimes you're going to lose. And sometimes you're going to be up against evil that's out of your league. And it's going to beat you down. And it's going to make you want to tap out. And it's going to make you want to cry. And it's going to make you want to curse. And worst of all, it's going to make you want to give up and give in. And on those days, you just going to have to take the L. And you're going to have to crawl away if you can to rest. To all those who seek God Almighty, He will give you rest. You can't give up, even if you get embarrassed, even if you get hurt. These are the spirits. We are all connected on a spiritual level. What holds one of us hostage holds us all hostage. We cannot give up, and we cannot give in. We must stand up the best we can. But we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but that darkness that is in the high and low places, that is in both the ruler's home and the lowly peasant's home, that is within all of us. We cannot give in and we cannot surrender. We must fight, because if we don't fight, no one else will. If you value good on this earth, then you have to stand for it. If you value, then you have to know what it is. And you have to stand for it. Don't wait for someone to tell you what good is. You figure out what good is. You learn what it is. You'll pray for the wisdom and the discernment to know what it is. You must stand for it. You must. Because if you don't, no one else will. If you don't stand up for what's good and right, don't you whine when evil walks this earth and dominates you and everything upon this earth. Don't you complain. Don't you complain. And that's all I've got to say. You know, what do I believe in? I believe in interjecting in situations that don't involve me when I see that there is something that must be stood against. That's what I believe in. Because if I don't, I'll die 1,000 times as a coward. And oh boy, I would rather burn out than fade away as a coward. I'd rather burn out standing up for what is right and fighting for what is just and good. I would rather die and burn out fighting the good fight on the spot than live to know I survived because I compromised and I was a coward. That's all I really have to say. I'm going to close this video out. I don't know if you guys see them, but there's fireflies out here. They sure are beautiful. What a nice ending to an ugly night. I think someone's here. That's probably our groceries. So guys, I hope you have a great day. And I want you to know that I'm not discouraged. And that just as I tell you that I hope you find all the blessings of this world, that you find all the curses right there with it. Who am I to embrace all the good things and shun my nose at all the bad things that go with it? Who am I to say I hate bad things? Who am I to say I embrace all the bad things and shun my nose at all the good things? I hope everything goes your way, guys. And I appreciate you watching this video. Like and subscribe. I'll see you around.